You checked your phone before you got out of bed this morning. You scanned the room when you walked into a restaurant. You felt a flicker of something uncomfortable when a stranger made eye contact a half second too long. None of that felt strange. None of it felt ancient. But here's the thing. Every one of those moments was driven by a brain that has not fundamentally changed in over 200,000 years. And the real answer to why you do what you do is far stranger than you think. Your brain is not a modern machine. It's a survival tool built for a world that no longer exists. Neuroscientists call it the mismatch hypothesis. Your nervous system was sculpted by pressure so old, so consistent, so brutal, that it locked in certain responses as permanent defaults. And those defaults follow you everywhere, into your office, into your bedroom, into every argument you have ever had that felt bigger than it should have been. To understand why, you have to go back. Not decades, not centuries. You have to go back roughly 300,000 years to the African savanna, where the earliest anatomically modern humans were not sitting at desks. They were not scrolling. They were surviving. Every single day was a calculation. Is this safe? Is that person a threat? Is there food here? Does that shadow mean something is hunting me right now? The brain that answered those questions correctly passed itself down. The brain that got it wrong did not. Evolutionary psychologist Leda Cosmides, along with her colleague John Tooby, spent decades building what they called the psychological foundation of evolutionary psychology. Their central argument was simple and radical. The human mind is not a blank slate. It's a collection of specialized circuits, each one built to solve a specific problem that mattered in the ancestral environment. You are not one mind. You are a society of ancient programs running simultaneously, and most of them were written for a world you will never see. Take threat detection. Your amygdala, a small almond-shaped cluster deep in the brain, is one of the most ancient structures in your skull. It does not wait for your rational mind to weigh evidence. It fires first. It asks questions later. When you hear a sudden loud sound, you flinch before you know what made the noise. When someone raises their voice, your pulse accelerates before you decide whether to be afraid. This is not weakness. This was the system that kept your ancestors alive long enough to become your ancestors. Neuroscientist Joseph Ledoux, who spent his career mapping the fear circuits of the brain, showed that the amygdala has a direct neural highway to the body that bypasses the cortex entirely. You feel before you think, every time. That speed was essential when the threat was a predator. It is slightly less useful when the threat is a passive-aggressive email from your manager. But the brain does not know the difference. It never learned to. Think about what that means for your daily life. You walk into a meeting and someone in the group does not smile at you. Your system flags it. Your brain, built for a tribe of 50 to 150 people where every social signal had survival weight, registers that neutral face as a potential threat. Your cortisol ticks upward. Your focus narrows. You spend the next 40 minutes partly inside that meeting and partly inside a very old loop, scanning for what you might have done wrong and what it might cost you. The stakes feel existential, because once they were. Robin Dunbar, the anthropologist and evolutionary psychologist at Oxford University, proposed that the human neocortex expanded primarily to manage the complexity of social groups. His research suggested that 150 is roughly the cognitive limit for stable human social networks. That number, now called Dunbar's number, keeps appearing across hunter-gatherer societies, military units, early villages. Your brain was built to track roughly 150 people, their faces, their loyalties, their moods. their position in the hierarchy relative to yours. It was a full-time cognitive job, and your brain is still doing it right now with every person you follow, every face you scroll past, every person whose opinion of you has ever mattered. Here is the twist. You now have access to thousands of faces, millions if you count social media. Your brain cannot distinguish between a real tribal member and a person you follow online. It assigns social weight to strangers. It tracks status signals from people you have never met and never will. When a post gets fewer likes than you expected, the same system that once monitored your standing in a small, interdependent group fires its uncertainty signal. You feel it in your chest before you can name it. This is not a flaw you can reason your way out of. It is the architecture. Look at how you eat. For the overwhelming majority of human history, calories were scarce and unpredictable. A good hunt meant eat as much as possible right now because tomorrow is not guaranteed. Salt, fat, and sugar were rare, precious, and densely energetic. Your brain evolved to chase them, reward you for finding them, and push you to consume beyond comfort because excess was almost never possible. Now you live in a world where those things are engineered to be available at every corner, designed by companies who understand your ancient reward circuitry better than you do. Your brain says more. Your brain says now. It is not lying to you. It is doing exactly what it was built to do. The environment changed. The brain did not. Psychologist Paul Rosen at the University of Pennsylvania has spent years studying disgust, and what he found reveals something profound about your ancestral brain. Disgust is not just an emotion, it is an ancient contamination avoidance system. It evolved to protect you from pathogens, from spoiled food, from bodily fluids that could carry disease. But your brain extended that system far beyond the physical. Things that violate social order, moral norms, or group boundaries can trigger the same cascade. You feel disgust toward ideas, toward people, toward groups your tribe defined as outsiders. This is not an irrational reaction you invented. It is a very old program running on new data, and it shapes politics, identity, and belonging in ways that are almost invisible because they feel so obvious, so natural, so right. Your brain also has a very specific relationship with uncertainty, and that relationship was forged in a world where uncertainty almost always meant danger. Psychologists call this negativity bias. Bad information is processed faster, held longer, and weighted more heavily than good information of equal intensity. You remember the insult longer than the compliment. You think about the one critical comment in a sea of praise. You lie awake replaying the argument, not the laughter. This is not pessimism. This is an ancient prioritization system. In a dangerous world, the cost of ignoring a threat was death. The cost of ignoring a pleasant experience was merely missing something nice. So your brain learned to pay more attention to what could hurt you. In the modern world, where most threats are social and psychological rather than physical and immediate, that bias runs constantly, quietly, burning energy and shaping how you see yourself in your life. And then there is status. The need to know where you stand relative to others is not ego or vanity. It is ancient wiring. In a small band of humans, your rank in the group determined your access to food, to mates, to protection, to survival. Low status was genuinely dangerous. High status was genuinely protective. So your brain evolved a continuous automatic monitoring system for your social position. It reads micro signals, tone of voice, who gets interrupted and who does not, whose ideas are taken seriously, who walks through the door and changes the energy in the room. You do this without deciding to. The system is always running, always updating, always feeding its conclusions into your emotional state. Now sit with that for a moment. Every career anxiety, every comparison you make on a difficult day, every moment you have walked out of a room wondering what people thought of you, that is not a modern neurosis. That is a 300,000-year-old status monitor doing its job in a world it was never designed for. The researchers, the anthropologists, the neuroscientists, they keep arriving at the same conclusion from different directions. You are an ancient creature in a novel world. The gap between the environment your brain was built for and the one you actually inhabit is vast. And almost every tension you feel, from the anxiety of a missed notification to the dread of social exclusion to the pull of one more bite of something sweet, lives inside that gap. You checked your phone before you got out of bed this morning, and now you know exactly why. Not because you're distracted, not because you lack discipline, because somewhere deep in the circuits your ancestors passed down to you, a very old brain is still scanning the horizon, still reading the faces of the tribe, still trying to keep you alive in a world that vanished long before you were born. The cave is gone, but your brain never left.